Is it crazy or autocracy? Or what type of crazy is that? Except crazy.
News making the headlines.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, treasure looters that are in government today.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
Slap you in the face.
Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
Whatever it is that will bring our military to this report, I said to hell
On
with it.
Core Digest,
I want to know why I should be believing them.
every weekday, we bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody has the right in Nigeria,
where you are the judge.
And thank you so very much for staying the course on the program. It's still Core Digest on Core TV News. And for this segment, we're looking at the tribunal experience after March 2015 election. Now, with the experience coming up, of course, that's been in the news recently as we see a lot of fallout of how different states are experiencing the tribunal taking its course. And we see the Yobe Tribunal admitting that the 15 million bribe exhibit against the REC in person of Abu Zama into his account some days to the April 11 governorship election poll in the state was quite accepted by the tribunal there by Amadu by the judge really handling the case. And aside from that, in Yobe, while all the states, we see the judge dismissing the cases on different counts about the competency of the council or about even the facts being presented to the court. And a lot of Nigerians would want to see how all of this would turn out, because while the winner enjoys the position he's been elected to, the party who feels aggrieved simply seeks justice on the matter. So we'll just have a touch on this issue, as the topic says again, tribunal experience after March 2015 election. And the guest on the show is a legal practitioner and president of Bayo. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us again on the program. And Bayo is actually a regular guest on the show. And so, Bayo, let's look at the tribunal experience really. For you, what would you pinpoint as major issues coming up from the tribunal lately?
Basically, the major issues are the contests on the election results, and some have been concluded. Much more are still ongoing, and I guess we're reading a lot of them in the newspapers. And I must say that it's quite exciting because it's a bit different from what we had in the past. Now, I think the tribunals are more structured, are better structured rather. The judges are more experienced, and even the practitioners, the legal practitioners are, I mean, because now we now have a huge resource of references. So it's all helping in the process and making sure that the process goes faster and more effective.
Now, taking the case of Yobe State, now we see Madamu Waziri, the PDP candidate, accusing the APC candidate who won the election of bribing the resident electoral commissioner. What does this portrude for the governor, who is currently the one ruling the state at this time?
No, you see, like I said, we may not be able to delve too much on this particular case because the case is still on, and what we have read in the newspapers is that they have been able to subpoena the banks who have given evidence that indeed monies were deposited in the accounts of the gentleman on the REC. Until the court decides, one cannot preempt the decision, and as such one has to be extremely careful. Because I also remember reading somewhere that the 0.1 something billion naira was deposited in the account of the REC in Rivers. And the lady has since denied it. I'm not sure the APC, I think it's the APC that is accusing her. Okay, yes, the APC. So I'm not sure the APC has gone to the extent of bringing in the banks to show. But in the case of this Yobe, it's interesting to note that indeed, from the reports in the papers anyway, that indeed the court has been given, or the court is seized of those documents, the account opening forms, the withdrawal, the statement of account,
yeah.
and every other thing that shows that indeed money was deposited. Well, we now have to find out why the money was deposited. Was it for the purpose of the election? If it was for the purpose of the election, what ordinarily was the reason for that? So those are things that the courts will still have to look at, and that's why I said we have to be a bit patient in jumping into the ring.
All right. Well, for you, would you, in your view, say the politicians are handling the tribunal episode really well? Because once, like you are a legal practitioner, they say once a case is in court, you shouldn't really more of like still oppose the parties. Since you presented this report, I think the court should be the one to. But we still see politicians still show 8 statements to the opposition, even while the case is still in court.
So I think that's why they are politicians and they are not legal practitioners. You will also notice that no legal practitioner will make such statements. Yes, the cases are in court. The parties are in court. Each party is expecting victory. No party goes to court and expecting to fail anyway. So the remedy that is available for anyone who has lost a case is actually to go on appeal. And the Electoral Act has actually been reviewed to give room to get to the Supreme Court, on your appeal. However, in order to structure the process, there was a need to put a time limit to the entire process, and that is what the Electoral Act says, that all these things must be concluded within 180 days from the date of filing. So I guess the problem now is that we are all running against time. The 180 days is definitely coming before the end of the year. I don't know, when elections were in
April 11 and March.
No, March and April. So you count 180 days from, I think, from the 15 days after the election, which the petitioner has to file his first term, to file the petition. So if you count like that, 180 days is really, really running and it's fast. This is a clear departure and a positive departure from the past, where we could have an election petition run into the expiration of the term of the governor of an administration. So you see some decisions of some tribunal decisions coming after the respondent has concluded his term in office. And then you begin to wonder what's the point. So this is why I say that the election tribunals are better restructured, are better organized. All of these are based on experiences of the immediate past. So it also tells you that our electoral system is gradually, maturing to the point where we can all agree to ensure things are done in proper perspective.
All right. Still in the tribunal, especially, I'm going to cite the case in Rivers State. In 5 petitions that was filed, 4 was ruled out, saying that's on grounds that they lack some competence and all that. So the question is, to what degree should an evidence have that would actually stand up to be presented to the tribunal as good enough to actually...
Well, basically, evidences are meant to help your case. As such, it must be relevant to the case in point, case in question. Your evidences must not be at variance with what you are asking for. It must be legal. It must have the basic ingredients of what the court will accept as an evidence. So, if it lacks any one of these things, I'll give you a basic example. It's a common example. Every process must be filed. By filing, you mean officially taken to the registry of the court and paying the prescribed fees. So just in case you forgot to pay the fees, the court is not under obligation to hear you because you have not, So some of these little technical issues are what you're referring to as being dismissal and everything. They may not necessarily be dismissal because they may not affect the course of the matter itself. They may, of course, as legal practitioners, like I've explained here, we have 180 days to conclude the process. So as legal practitioners, particularly for the defendant or the respondent, you have to devise ways of wasting the time, to ensure that maybe the 180 days lapse before. Because once the 180 days is lapsed, then the entire process is gone.
And is that fair to the candidate who
well,
is
it
seeking
is not,
redress?
but it is not. But we need to peg this thing. Like, would you rather have 180 days or have 4.5 years? Yes, there's no process that does not have its own laxities. So the laxity will be taken advantage of by everybody, and so those are the little things available within that, it's fair.
Now, with the laxity you talked about, do you not see in any way dampen the fate of those who actually believe in the rule of law, that justice should be upheld?
Justice is always done, It's just the way each party looks at it. And that is why the appellate courts are there. Because, take for instance, you go through 3 different courts. One decision is taken by one person, a judge. The next decision is taken by 3. And then the third one is taken by 5 or 7, as the case may be in case of constitutional issue. So, it means that it's gone through the mills. And so decisions that are taken at those levels, at those 3 levels, must be seen to be decisions that are properly researched into, properly considered before they were made. So it's unfortunate here. Justice is like, the Americans will say that the law is on us. It doesn't have to be favorable to everybody, but the favorability in this instance is also relative. How favorable is it? Is it fair to the person who has lost? How will the person who has lost the case, admit that he has gone through a fair system? But yet the Constitution guarantees fair hearing, equity, and justice. So you come in, the process is simple. You come in, you state your facts. The judge hears both sides and takes a decision based on facts before the court. So if the facts before the court are not well presented, whose fault?
All right. Well, before the elections came, a lot of Nigerians saw the process as quite visibly transparent. The use of card readers, the use of permanent voter cards, and unlike what was expected, we see a lot of people seeking redress at tribunal. Now, as a legal practitioner, do you think that Nigeria will get to a level where the tribunal would not even be needed because the process would be so obvious, really?
I will talk not as a legal practitioner, but as a Nigerian.
Okay.
I am hoping Nigeria will get to the level where the process will be near flawless, because there's nowhere in the world that will have a flawless system, particularly electoral system, and across the world as well, including the Western world. You still have the tribunals being set up for this purpose. It's for you to come and express the fact that I ought to have gotten X number of votes, but I did not get it because the other person did one thing or the other to prevent me from getting what I was supposed to get. So if you have empirical evidences to show that indeed these things were done to prevent you from getting what you want to get, then you see, people don't even know that some people go to the electoral tribunal to state that, hey, I won this election, but I ought to have won much more than this. But for the fact that this guy did one thing or the other, I could have had 1 million votes instead of the 300,000 that I had. So it's the tribunal is just to satisfy, to make sure that the process is seen as transparent as possible. Yes, we use card readers, but I always tell people that in the last election, with due respect to the other parts of the country, I think it's only in the southwest that the card readers were effective.
Why would you say that?
No, I don't think that is, and that's a topic for this discussion. I mean, if you saw the results from other parts, I mean, you have a particular state in the north that returned 1.9 million votes without one single void vote. Not one single void vote. And when you compare, when you look at the level of literacy in comparison to a state like Lagos State, and go and compare the number of void votes in Lagos, I mean, it's, don't let us go into all of that.
Okay.
I mean, how can you have so much, so much votes from one particular section of the country, and you have to look at the. I keep talking about the literacy level of each part of the country, and that goes to the educational cutoff points that they say. If I come from a part of the country that says that the level of literacy is very low, and we can then say in my part of the country, we were so politically educated that we voted so massively that we made sure there was not a single void vote. And then we saw, I mean, those ones are not, they cannot be held against anybody. We saw video clips of young children under some below 10 voting. So the process is not totally flawless, but it was better than what we've always had.
All right.
But nothing compared to the 93 elections anyway.
Yeah, people keep talking about the 93 election. What mostly stand it out from other
because
elections?
the 93 election was an experiment that actually worked. You didn't have to, it wasn't a secret ballot vote. You want to vote for your candidate, you queue behind him. So it was easy to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nobody had the opportunity of any ballot paper being stamped, And so it was open, it was in the sun, it was in the daylight, everybody could see that.
Well, how practicable is that in this time
It
of
depends
day?
on the will of the people. When there's a will, there's always a way. I agree with the immediate past governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Rajafashola, on the lecture he delivered just before he left office. That I think the topic of the lecture was Nigeria national agreements. Where he stated clearly that Nigerians must come together and agree how we want this nation to be governed and to run. Until we come to that conclusion, we're going to be going left, right, and center. Well, like they say, all motion without movement. So I think we still have a long way to go. But like I said, as a Nigerian, very, very optimistic, extremely optimistic, very confident that I don't know when, whether in my lifetime or my children's lifetime, but I'm sure Nigeria will get there. So.
Okay. Now, before we go on this quick break, let's just go back to this 180 days expiration period that the tribunal sets for candidates who are seeking redress. Say, for example, we also looked at the fact that if the evidence does not pass through the certain rules that the court has set, even regardless of how good it is, it won't be considered as viable in the face of the court.
I don't know what you mean by how good it is.
Maybe how...
There's nothing you bring before the court that the court will not accept.
Would not accept. But you mean, you talked about the fact that if it doesn't meet certain requirements, that is paying for something...
No, that was just an example. The thing is, I'll just give that as an example of, some of the technical issues that, with due respect to you, you may not understand.
Make me understand.
No, you can't,
Make me understand.
My colleagues will know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
If you come before a court of law and you say, I have this newspaper as my evidence, the court is willing to accept it. But there are rules by which you can present the newspaper. If you do not meet those rules, you can't just come in, for instance, and hand the newspaper over to the judge. There are rules. You must have filed, it must have gone through a process. So what I'm saying is this. If I come and I'd gone through every process of presenting this newspaper as a documentary evidence to the court, and I give it to the court and the court accepts, and the other party comes in and says, this is my own copy, then the courts cannot accept that because it has not gone through
the right process.
That's a simple
analogy. So now, for if the tribunal has actually ruled on the case, is there a time limit for appellate courts to see into the case? And there are time limits like the tribunal has 180 days.
Everything must be finished within 180 days.
Everything,
In
including
the lower,
appeal
no,
in the lower court.
You can go to appeal and find. I don't know. I am yet to study the appeal, but I think so. I think there's a time limit for the appeal, because in actual fact, at the appellate level, you don't have to go through the process that you go through at the lower courts, because the appellate level assumes that you already have done. You've already argued your case and everything. They just want to see the lower court's judgment make a mistake in this thing. So that's what they're looking at. So it doesn't take much time for them anyway.
Okay. And as a legal practitioner, with your view of the law, would you say the Nigerian law really give accurate justice to issues?
There's no law in the world that gives. Don't forget that judges are human beings. I had an opportunity to speak with a cabinet one about some time ago, and then we were talking generally, and he said that why would he, as a person, as a human being, hold on to someone who has offended him? He said because he sits in court every day to give decisions, sometimes judgments, against people and for people. He said that in itself, as far as this concerned, morally is wrong, and so it could be termed as a sin. And therefore, we're human beings. If I made a judge today, it doesn't remove the fire, and that's why all you have is that you now add that appellation justice. So. Tells you a human being. So there's no way you can say that anywhere in the world that justice is accurate. Do you understand? But you see, you have to look at the reasonability, the reasonable point of view of a sane, reasonable person towards the decision taken by court. And that is why some decisions come and then you find everybody say, how? How did they do that? Let's go on appeal. Then sometimes you find some that everybody will agree that it makes a lot of sense. There are so many decisions like that in our records, in our law books, to show that indeed fantastic judge, fantastic judgment, beautiful rendition, but doesn't stop people from still going on appeal. Because however beautiful, reasonable the judgment is, somebody has lost. So because I've lost, I still want to challenge this thing that let's take a murder case, a clear murder case, for instance. So everybody knew, it was obvious this guy killed this person, and then he's sentenced to death, for instance. He goes on appeal. Why should he go on appeal? What's he appealing against? But he has to exercise his right of appeal. That's why the appellate courts are there.
Okay. Now, as a way of sensitizing Nigerians, with this going to tribunal thing, a lot of Nigerians will say, why is this candidate wasting his time? That the winner has won, so you shouldn't waste money and stress.
Well, it's a moral thing. He wants to satisfy himself that indeed I lost, and I lost squarely or fairly. That is all. And since he cannot go back to the election field to go and redo or to, to re-campaign, unless he waits for another 4 years, and he has to go and depend on, like a colleague said, he has to go and depend on a few people who are not even near the vicinity of the election. And that is the beauty of it. Because those judges were not even anywhere near where this particular election took place. But because of that, they're able to dispassionately filter arguments and, take a decision.
Is that a good argument to take a case from the area in which it happened and taken? Because most of these tribunal cases are being done in Abuja, away from the state.
It's the
a
ones
good number of them.
No, it's the ones that are from the troubled states like Rivers.
Rivers, yes.
Because of the violence. I think at the point in time they took the matters in Ekiti to Abuja. It was just to say, let's have a neutral ground, because anything could happen in those volatile areas. That's all.
Okay, so it's justified for them to do that.
Yeah. I mean, if as a judge you understand that where they are posting you to is not safe, will you go? When you are going in your car and then the bomb goes up here, man. So you have to find a safe haven for these things to take place.
All right, thank you, Bayo. Well, we'll just take this quick break on Core Digest, and when we come back, we'll open the phone lines for you to contribute on this particular topic. And the other topic we'll be looking at, and the topic is Buhari's administration fighting corruption. Stay tuned.
Some pundits believe that as long as the political system is driven by selected few, corruption may be difficult to fight.
Be careful about what you say.
I am not the only politician. Even if I've wronged anyone, it's time to forgive me.
Political Arena every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. and a repeat broadcast every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m.